In this video, we're going to dive into one of the robotics teams I'm most bullish on. This video is a companion piece to our newsletter, which is called Robotic Alpha. So we dive into a ton of really top tier teams here. And OpenMind is one of the teams that we've chatted to, really like what they're doing. So let's talk about something interesting that happened recently. A humanoid robot rang the Nasdaq bell for the first time. So I'm actually gonna share this video with you of this humanoid robot. There we go, it's heading towards the bell. There we go, it rang the bell right over there. That's the first time you've had a humanoid robot ring the Nasdaq bell. This Unitree G1 robot was powered by OM1. Think of it as a robotic mind built by OpenMind. And what this really means is that robots now participate. They just don't perform, right? They're actually starting to participate in the world economy. So let's talk about the big bottleneck in robotics right now. And this is something, if you've read our newsletter, we kind of mention over and over again, which is it's the brain, it's not the body. Robotics hardware is advancing quickly. You have great sensors, actuators, and mechanical systems that are building these sophisticated robot bodies. The problem is, how do you actually control that body in the right way to do the right things? And that's the intelligence / the mind inside. The real bottleneck for robots is not their physical capabilities, but the intelligence that powers their decision-making and autonomy, right? So that's kind of what the bottleneck in robotics is. So OpenMind is a Stanford-rooted research group started at Stanford, focused on advancing this field of physical AI and robotics. And their goal is to build out open and transparent, interoperable robotic systems, right? So what I mean by this is they want to essentially build out a robotic system that's not just like centralized and completely closed off, but more of an open source ethos, right? So they're building out a whole open source robotic stack to help developers build upon that and be able to use robots for new and interesting use cases. OM1 is their operating system for robots, right? It's a modular operating system built for physical environments, compatible with the Tesla bot, Unitree, Turtlebot 4, and it's basically easy plug-and-play behavior programming. There's seamless agent deployment in both cloud and hardware. The second product they're building, or the second system they're building, is Fabric. So Fabric is a decentralized coordination layer for robots. So essentially allows robots to have an identity on-chain, reputation, handle payments. And the goal here to scale from one robot to millions, right? How do you have robots interacting with each other? How do you build reputation into them? How do you make sure you can scale robotic interactions? What if you have, let's say, a factory with multiple types of robots that are working with each other, right? What if you have even perhaps robots from one company working with robots from another company? How do you set up robotic rentals, etc.? So there's a lot of issues around robotic coordination that are going to be really important as time goes on. So real world use cases, what OpenMind is building is they've essentially built robodogs that are deployed on warships with blockchain tracking. There's robot cafes that they have that demo AI in social settings. They do these robotic clinics with developers, helping them with hands-on support. And they're also integrating with Demo. In our article here, we actually go quite deep into that. What I like about OpenMind is they're really building in public. They really have a ton of documentation. They have an active developer community. They have weekly digests, they have podcasts, they have social media engagement. They're doing tons of events. They have a transparent educational kind of ecosystem-driven ethos, right? A lot of crypto, deep tech companies that are building in the robotic space or AI space, they don't really do a lot of that. While these guys, they're really being focused on being appealing to developers, but also to the general audience. Now, how does Web3 come into this, right? So for what they're building with Fabric, you kind of need blockchain and crypto, right? If you want to coordinate robots autonomously, the decentralized nature of blockchain makes perfect sense for that, right? You want to have these blockchains basically make it easy to verify what's happening. And especially if there's a lot of robots that you're coordinating, it's way harder to do this in a centralized manner, especially when you have a bunch of different developers on it and they all want to know what's going on, right? So think of this as both the payment rails as well as the coordination layer, right? You have DeFi, you have AI agents on DeFi, etc. But this is kind of like the physical version of that. So this basically creates a verifiable trust layer for robot-to-robot interactions, ensuring trust and transparency. Anybody can verify that, like, okay, this robot did what they promised, and perhaps there are even mechanisms to slash robots that didn't perform well, etc. So this could really help in scaling robotics, especially in the mid to long term. So the overall vision here is OM1 powers the mind, right? It's almost like the operating system. So individual developers, even like hobbyists, can go in and create new use cases, right? And then Fabric powers the network. And this basically allows you to have robots that learn, adapt, and work together, creates like an open source version of robotics. Because right now, a lot of robotics teams, they're basically building their own models, their own operating systems from scratch every single time. And that means they have to start from zero. While the goal here with OpenMind is to essentially allow everybody to start playing with robotics and create a world where systems matter more than just stunts, right? And that wraps it up. Go check out OpenMind on X. They have a great Substack as well. For early robotics alpha, go subscribe to our Substack. There's tons of content in there, and you get, as a Substack subscriber, first access to anything we push out. Also, go follow us on X. If you're watching this on YouTube, give me a subscribe, and I'll keep making these videos for you. Thanks for watching.